Hello and welcome to TVP World. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. Top U.S. negotiators are meeting European leaders in Paris on Thursday to discuss attempts to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, the talks represent the most senior engagement between the transatlantic allies in many months, with this period punctuated by fiery differences on how to support the war-torn country. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins has more from Brussels.
Ukraine's foreign minister and defense minister have arrived in Paris for high-level talks centered on finding a hopeful end to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, these leaders will be joined by the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, as well as representatives from France, Germany and the US. Now, the special envoy Steve Witkoff will be joined by the US top diplomat Marco Rubio to put forward the American perspective regarding these talks. According to an official press released late on Wednesday evening, they are in Paris to advance US President Donald Trump's goal to end this war and to, quote, stop the bloodshed. We've also heard commentary from the Chief of Staff of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that he wants to put forward the Ukrainian perspective for these dialogues. Now, these are the official facts regarding this meeting on Thursday, but many are waiting to see what comes out of these dialogues regarding some contentious commentary that came out of Russia late last week. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin reportedly told that US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff that he would agree to a ceasefire if Russia could hang on to 5 occupied Russian territories in that Ukrainian country. Now, that special envoy said he was compelled by what he heard. So many are seeing the talks that are scheduled to take place on Thursday as an opportunity for the coalition of the willing, these European countries, to put forward the European perspective and to really stand firm against what that Russian president put forth late last week. We also know that the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni will travel to Washington sometime on Thursday or Friday to speak with that US President Donald Trump, presumably about tariffs, but we're also hoping to see that she will hold a dialogue about the Ukrainian perspective and the aims to end this ongoing invasion of that country. Angela Skujins from Brussels for TVP World.
At 10:30 p.m. local time, residents of Ukraine's Dnipro were shocked by multiple explosions. More than 100 windows and building facades have been damaged in the attack, the aftermath of which is still being handled by local authorities and residents.
We ran out and tried to get out of the yard because we realized that the hit was somewhere nearby, but we could not get out because everything was on fire. That is, the exit was blocked by fire. All the windows were damaged, even though I had armored glass on my windows. I heard 10 explosions, and everyone could hear them loudly. Then everyone started to hide near the elevator. It was more or less safe there because the wall was strong.
Despite pressure from the EU, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić wants to attend the May 9th parade in Moscow together with Vladimir Putin. After warnings from the EU, Vučić doubled down and said that he acknowledges he will be under pressure regarding participation in the event. Now, the EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, has warned that attending the parade in Moscow's Red Square would come with consequences. Other officials from the bloc have said that a potential visit could block Serbia's EU accession process. After these warnings, the Serbian president confirmed he will take part in the ceremony. Additionally, Serbian military units will parade along Russians in Moscow during the May 9th commemorations. Now, even though Belgrade is a candidate to join the European Union, it has maintained friendly relations with Moscow after the invasion of Ukraine and refuses to impose sanctions on Russia. Donald Trump is doing everything in his power to end the effective isolation of Russia, said Ján Michalčák, the Czech former unit head for countering hybrid threats, in an interview with TVP World. Now, following declarations of participation in the May 9th parade in Moscow by Aleksandar Vučić and Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, our guest pointed to a disturbing trend of world leaders moving to end Vladimir Putin's international isolation.
His isolation is unfortunately ending, and Given the current geopolitical situation, I cannot even rule out the possibility that Donald Trump from the United States might attend the parade. It's not been confirmed as far as I'm aware, but given the cozy relationship the Trump administration has had with Putin and the really unsuccessful so-called peace talks on Ukraine, where the US alone has been peddling pro-Russian propaganda, which is something unimaginable. You know, were you to ask me 2 years ago if that could ever happen, that the US administration would be following Russian propaganda, I would tell you you're crazy. But unfortunately, this is the new world that we are living in. And given the very real possibility that one, Donald Trump alone might attend, or even if he doesn't, he's doing everything in his power to end the effective isolation of Russia.
Poland's Minister of Defense, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, is visiting Latvia to strengthen bilateral defense ties and enhance cooperation within NATO. Now, during his trip, he will meet with Latvian Defense Minister Andris Spruds to discuss key defense matters and collaborative efforts between the two nations. Now, a highlight of the visit includes Kosiniak-Kamysz's visit to the Polish military contingent stationed at the Adazi base, where he will join Easter celebrations with Polish soldiers as well as allied forces. Both defense ministers will also award distinctions to Polish soldiers in recognition of their contributions. The Polish military contingent in Latvia is part of NATO's enhanced forward presence, and Poland's contribution to this mission further underscores the country's commitment to NATO's defense strategy. The current contingent includes approximately 250 Polish soldiers, part of a multinational battalion staffed by over 1,000 soldiers from Canada, Italy, Albania, Slovenia, and Spain. The stock market shares of Polish state-owned energy companies have dropped on Wednesday in the aftermath of Prime Minister Donald Tusk's announcement of a major shift in the country's economy. Now, the announcement in question took place only a month ahead of crucial presidential elections. Aisha Abacha reports on the first effects of the so-called repolonization, or the prioritizing of Polish interests in the economy.
Repolonization was the buzzword of Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk's address at the European Forum for New Ideas in Warsaw on Tuesday, where he announced the end of an era of naive globalization.
It's time to rebuild the national economy. It's time to reshore the Polish economy and capital markets.
I think the Polish Prime Minister joins the club because it's the phenomenon which is to be observed elsewhere in the world, especially in the United States of America.
If maximizing the profits of a state-owned company made sense, then why would the state even be involved in such a company?
But his new Poland First approach didn't sit well with investors. Only a day after Tusk's speech, shares in one of Poland's largest energy companies, PGE, fell by almost 10%. Declines also affected other companies in the sector. Tauron dropped over 7%, while Enea lost 2.5%.
Whoever bought the shares of our energy company, counting on high dividends, and now is more in the mood to sell them.
The new direction also raises the question of how compatible it can be with the EU single market.
Of course, this is a certain problem from the point of view of European Union, because everybody did it, but nobody was saying it out loud. So the question is now whether we are going as a European Union in the direction of, again, erecting barriers between the countries and privileging own companies.
While the Prime Minister's stance may not come as a surprise to experts, the timing of this radical policy announcement raises eyebrows, especially with Poland's presidential elections just around the corner.
Of course, this is a part of taking over the right-wing narrative by civic platform. We've seen that before with refugees and migrants. This is another step of taking the platform of the right-wing parties in the attempt to deprive them of oxygen. And of course, this also plays into ongoing presidential campaign. Because on one side, we have, let's say, not stellar performance of Mr. Trzaskowski during the Koński debates.
Civic Coalition presidential candidate Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski lost up to 5% points in the poll as a result of the debate on April 11th. Meanwhile, the ratings of his main opponent, historian Karol Nawrocki, backed by the Law and Justice, rose.
So right now the question, what kind of action will follow? But I think we as a country, we are going out from the momentum where we were kind of growing country, poor country, with always these comments that there is Eastern Europe and Western Europe.
As the era of the peace dividend and open global markets fades, indications point to a possible shift in Poland's economic strategy, regardless of who ends up in the presidential palace. Reporting for TVP World, I'm Aisha Badge.
And that's all for this edition of World News here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching and stay with us for more news, features, and commentary.